Good day, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Safari Mack Explores Australia. I'm Safari Mack, your guide and host, helping you make connections to the wild. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're still here along the coastal waters of Australia, hanging out on the Great Barrier Reef, where today I wanted to introduce you all to a true gentle giant. I give you the Manta Ray, otherwise known by their Latin name, Acephaloteuthis manta. Now, what makes this creature extra special is that this is, on Safari Mack, this is our very first stingray/shark species that we will encounter. So let's prepare to shake fins and dive into the water and begin our swim with this magnificent creature. But before we begin, if you're new to my channel, hit that like and subscribe button, check out my Facebook page on content on conservation, and if you have questions or if there's an animal that you want me to do in the future, you just have to send me an email, which you will always find the link to down in my description below. But if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get started. As always, with its evolution and its family. So it seems hard to believe that the ray, as well as the shark, it's hard to believe that these two are related to each other, right? But there are major important similarities that link these two together. One, both species tend to have cartilage in their bodies instead of bones. Two, they have a kind of electrosensory organ that allows them to detect the electrical field of other marine life in the water. And three, they have this kind of skin teeth or dermal denticles, which is basically actually made out of the same material as human teeth and gives it their kind of sandpapery feel. Not that I've ever touched a shark myself, but I have managed to meet a few rays in different institutions, and I can tell you it does feel a little rough, like a cat's tongue. But never mind that. What's important to remember is that while they are related to each other, of course, they did follow different evolutionary paths millions of years ago. To understand that, let's go back to the beginning. It's thought that sharks originated along with the other fishes during the time of the age of the fishes, well over millions of years ago. This was before dinosaurs, birds, and mammals. Back when fish ruled the world, mostly the world's oceans. And yet, over time, it's estimated that 400 million years ago, the shark and the ray would split apart and evolve their own family bloodlines. Now, in terms of finding actual fossils of rays, it's kind of hard because, as I've already mentioned, the ray, they have cartilage instead of bones, so it doesn't always preserve well. However, some findings have been discovered, and they've been discovered not just in North Carolina, but also South Carolina. And it's thought that the manta may have appeared somewhere around 20 million years ago. Now let's get into their habitat, lifestyle, and reproduction. Now, as you can see by this global map, the manta basically inhabits all of the world's tropical and temperate oceans. So, from North America down along Africa, even all the way through India and Australia, you can find mantas in basically all of the world's warm oceans. Now, their lifestyle is that they live in different kinds of habitats, and these include estuarine waters, oceanic inlets, bays, intercoastal waterways, many different habitats. But wherever they are, their swimming style can be different. Whether they're traveling in deep water or just hanging out above the surface, somewhat below the surface, it depends on where they live, and that really is their style of swimming. These creatures are not entirely solitary, as although they can travel alone, they will also travel with other groups, sometimes up to 50 or more in a single group, participating in reproduction, feeding, and of course other activities such as the famous manta breaching. Why they do this though? No one really knows why. Now, when it comes time to breed, females only give birth once every 2 years, and then after a gestation period of up from a year to 13 months, she'll give birth to a single pup and once that pup is born, they're actually fully independent. They don't even need to stay with mom and learn how to feed. They just take off and go. So, and if they're successful, these creatures could live up to be 50 years old by the time they're ready to die. That is, as long as they make it successfully out there in the open ocean. Now let's get into their diet and their foraging styles. So they're what you call macro predators, but they are also known as filter feeders. Like that of our baleen whales, like our friend the humpback whale back in our time in Alaska, these animals are actually known to be feeders of tiny shrimp and other small animals called zooplankton. Think of it, it's basically a mix of tiny plants and animals that live in the water. These can include baby shrimp, baby crustaceans, even baby fish. So this zooplankton is one of their top feeding styles. But they are also known to feed on other fish, at least small fishes. And it's thanks to these huge gill arcs that this food is actually collected and the water filtered out. Now, their style of feeding is very different. They go from anywhere from swimming horizontal, turning 180 degrees. They can even swim upside down to feed, and even do a whole 360-degree somersault. Some will kind of feed on top of another. Others will kind of just do like a chain feeding where it's one against another and then another and another. And they've even been seen doing a kind of cyclone feeding that allows them to catch as many different predators as prey as possible. With a diameter of 15 meters, or at least 49 feet, these cyclones can actually consist of up to 150 mantas, and this kind of behavior could last well over an hour. Well over an hour of feeding. Finally, we're going to kind of end it early today, but today I would like to end today's episode with their influence in human culture. Now, the manta has been well documented by the Yolngu people of Guangakalmiri, forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong, where they're seen as by an Aborigines of Australia, where they're seen as a parent, a truly devoted parent, that teaches their young how to survive, despite them not really having to take care of their offspring. It's also, in this culture, it's a symbol of survival, social harmony, and good parenting. It's also associated with the fertility of the land for some reason. Now, for many different other coastal regions around the world, it's been associated as a symbol of good luck, spiritual beings, even messengers between the ocean and the sky, as they are depicted in both art and folklore. And even in Spanish, the word manta is actually their word for cloak. Now, another interesting thing about the manta ray is that they've also been associated with evil because of their breaching behavior, but this is all simply because we didn't understand. We had no idea about these animals. Eventually, because there was also once believed that these creatures were so evil, because of their breaching, they would be able to sink ships, and because of their size. But that's just not true. That really is not true. They really don't sink ships. But, as the human imagination is pretty powerful, we can think of any different possibilities in a world that we don't understand quite just yet. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid that's all the time I have for today's episode, but until next week with part 2, this is Safari Mack. I'll see you all out there.